Octopath Traveler is an upcoming turn-based JRPG that is being developed by Square Enix in collaboration with Aquire and to be published by Nintendo for the Switch console. For the past year and a half, I've been quietly awaiting this beautiful looking game since its announcement. Its art style and promotional material, atmosphere, gameplay and soundtrack immediately caught my attention. Upon doing more research, I found that the people working on this game were also behind Bravely Default, a title I've heard high praise for in the past but never actually got around to playing it. So when the new demo of Octopath Traveler came around on the eShop for the second time around, I couldn't wait to jump right into it. But without further ado, let's get right into my impressions. So the demo itself only requires around 1.6GB according to the eShop that can be downloaded for completely free. It limits you to around 3 hours or slightly more like in my case, which I assume was mainly because I was in the middle of a cutscene when the time period was used up. However, it was extended so I could complete the sequence. The game will allow you to play around 3 to 4 characters, in my case 3, and you can pick anyone to begin with. There are some areas you can't access due to this being a demo build, but I only encountered this problem in a single instance, so this really isn't much of an annoyance. Once completing the demo, you can save and the progress you have made will carry over to the release game if you decide to purchase it, a very appreciated convenience to the players. Personally, I played through the story of Hannet, Ophelia and Cyrus, made a new game for Primrose, Alphen and currently playing through Therion. Keep in mind however, there isn't much point in making a new game like I have, because the demo only allows one save file. I just wanted to play it as much as I could. Now that all the housekeeping is out of the way, I'd like to begin by talking about the presentation. The graphics and aesthetics of this game are wonderful, with a feel of familiarity in pixel art style of classic JRPGs like in the old days of Final Fantasy, as well as a breath of fresh air, with its unique incorporation of 2.5D presentation. And I think together it looks superb, just exploring from town to town with treasure chests hidden in the background. I love the variety of environments and truly beautiful scenery, which also carries over to the combat. The boss enemies are always expressive and interesting in how they are portrayed in battle. Special effects are extremely pretty to look at, and even the menu map is incredibly detailed in design. My only really minor complaint is the strength of the vignette and depth of field being a little too much for my taste. However, it does add for a pleasing look. It only came to my knowledge after finishing my playthrough that you can adjust or turn off this in the setting, which I'm very glad they included if that's the case. Overall, this was an exceptional and memorable looking game that I could see future JRPGs attempt to emulate. The soundtrack is absolutely fabulous to listen to, with each character having their own marvelous melodies. I was surprised on how consistently the game managed to deliver on its music and for every character I played. And it's a pleasant detail to know that each character have their own instruments in order to depict and shape their separate identities. Primrose with the violin, Cyrus with the strings, Hannet with the piano and etc. Voice acting was another surprise for me, since I was expecting myself to read the entire way, but the inclusion of this element from time to time is very welcome. I had a lot of fun when it came to the gameplay, and getting into the flow of combat was seamlessly smooth. Each characters have their own set of unique abilities known as path actions, which involves different ways you can interact with civilians in towns, and talent studies, abilities you can use in combat. From what I've heard, you can have up to 4 party members at once in gameplay, which certainly gives players the freedom to really experiment with different combinations and fighting styles. You have your basic attack options, a skill or two that your character specializes in that generally requires SP, which is basically MP, items, defend and flee, and each of the offensive or buff options can be boosted up to enhance the selected ability up to level 4 for your basic attack and maximum level for skill. Hannet's unique skill for example are Beast Law, where she can either capture the enemy or summon a beast she has captured beforehand, and Hunter skill, which gives a list of offensive abilities that require SP. All of these options can be boosted to deal greater damage or more hits. She also holds 2 weapons, which is useful in identifying the enemy's weakness. Each enemy will have a shield counter that can be broken, with attacks that are indicated below. You'll have to trial and error with multiple attacks to find its weaknesses. Once the shield counter is down to 0, the enemy's defense is decreased and is unable to attack for 1 turn. I think the gameplay is very promising in its future once you gather all the 8 characters of the game, though I wonder how it will manage players against sticking to 4 characters only. So far the difficulty is more on the easier side, but of course this is still the beginning phases of the entire approximately 60-hour main storyline campaign. Furthermore, outside of the main gameplay, each character can interact with different NPCs in different ways using the path actions. For example, Primrose can allure people into following her, to be called upon in combat. Cyrus can scrutinize a person to gather information, Hannah can provoke people into a one-on-one duel, and etc. Each of the path actions an individual has another counterpart in the group of 8 characters, interestingly enough, so I'm curious to see where exactly that goes. Storyline has been fairly engaging and entertaining so far. Each of the 8 travelers are introduced one by one when you come across gathering them. Their backstories of what led them on such a journey are told to the players through cutscenes and objectives, each differing in intensity, background, and emotion. So far, Primrose's story is by far the most compelling introductory experience. It was something new and especially captivating to play through, with multiple moments that kept me on my feet due to its thrilling writing. And it had such a satisfying conclusion before she went off to explore the world. There's a strong drive to see her journey of vengeance to its end. The other stories I've played through so far have been for the most part fine, but the quality of Primrose's narrative is far superior. So I hope everyone else has their moments later in the game. How this game works is that you begin by selecting any character. Once completing the backstory, they are headed on their way to the next objective, which means exploring the world. The players are directed towards the other characters available in the game to make this journey easier. Once you meet them, their own stories are showcased, and you continue this process until you have everyone. While the sense of freedom is nice in choosing whatever order you want to play and gather these different characters, it does come with its sacrifices. When your character first comes across another character, they're just waiting there in the middle of a town, and there's honestly barely any effort put into their first interaction, and all of a sudden they join your party without any meaningful purpose. In JRPGs, I always cherish the cast's first meeting, because at the end of it all, it just shows how far they've come. I completely understand why they didn't really focus on this, because there would have been a massive sum of dialogue options and it would have taken far too much development time to implement this, so giving the players directly their backstory is the bare minimum I would have expected. It's just a slight shame that there doesn't seem to be much time put into wrapping these stories together, at least in the beginning phases, which was something I was really excited to see. If I could have had it my way, then I would have preferred finding these different travelers in a particular order, so including more of an expansion to these characters' first meetings would have been easier to include. But it may be in the writer's intentions to not closely intertwine these 8 characters' journey, as it is advertised that the game will tell a story of 8 different tales. Overall, I was really happy with where the plot was going. With one character, Primrose, I really enjoyed, while the others were good with some not as engaging. And I do wish they had connected these adventures more closely together to create more of a convincing storyline. Obviously I can't jump to conclusions so early on, but I can walk away excited and can certainly see potential, promise, and a story for everyone to relate to. I will most definitely look forward to the game's release. But that about wraps up this video. If you enjoyed my impression, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what your thoughts are down below. Thank you all for watching, and till next time, I'll see you later.